How's it going, everybody? This is the Nitty Gritty. My name is Chad. With me, as usual, is Leonard, and we are continuing our WrestleMania fun with you this week. And we are returning to an old favorite of ours that we created, which is Unstable Stables. Putting it simply, how it started was we took a stable or a faction, particularly larger ones, and we would draft them. Leonard and I would each take turns drafting members of said stable, and then at the end, we would each have a team, and we would take that team and create a makeshift card pitting certain people against each other. Well, we have drifted away from factions and are doing larger groups of things now. We did, women's wrestlers at one point. We've done lots of things over the time.
Kings of the Ring, runner-ups, the King of the Ring, the dying days of the AWA, to name a few.
Absolutely, all that stuff, and it's a lot of fun. And this week we are going to be doing WrestleMania main eventers, and Leonard is going to give you some more details on what that means.
So specifically, the main event we're designating as the last match on the card. Not necessarily always the world title match, and a double main event doesn't count, like say at WrestleMania 8. So that would exclude Ric Flair. You get the person you draft as they were for the first time that they main evented at WrestleMania, which is the prime for most guys. So, for example, you would get Hulk Hogan from 1985, not 1993. It's people who wrestled in the match, not present. So Jimmy Snuka and Bob Orton, who were ringside for WrestleMania 1, would not count. Since WrestleMania 36 in 2020, there have been 2 night events, so main eventing either night counts. We formed this before WrestleMania 40, even though we scheduled didn't work out. We're taping it after. So I had not factored in WrestleMania 40, so that basically excluded Seth Rollins from being on the list. There's only been 5 women to main event WrestleMania, and you have to draft at least one woman, and there will be one designated women's match on the cards when we get to those. You can draft more women if you want, knowing they might have to wrestle a guy. So there are 45 different individual main eventers, the 5 women who I mentioned, 40 guys, unless I missed someone. So it's 21 picks each. So technically, theoretically, that's going to be 20 guys and 1 woman. One pick will not wrestle when we get to the card round. They will serve as second at ringside for any match you choose, but can only be used once. So Chad's getting the first pick because I had the first pick last time we did this. So that means I get the first placement on the cards. And in chronological order, here's the draft board so everyone knows who we're working on. Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, Paul Orndorff, Roddy Piper, King Kong Bundy, Andre the Giant, Randy Savage, Ted DiBiase, The Ultimate Warrior, Sergeant Slaughter, Sid Justice / Psycho Sid, Bret Hart, Yokozuna, Bam Bam Bigelow, Lawrence Taylor, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Big Show, Mick Foley, Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, Chris Benoit, Batista, John Cena, Edge, Randy Orton, The Miz, Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey, AJ Styles, Drew McIntyre, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, and Cody Rhodes. Again, not counting Seth Rollins and not counting Ric Flair, who was part of a double main event at WrestleMania 8.
Yeah, so before we get started, let's just talk about how interesting it is. Ric Flair was not on that list, right?
No, because
it's funny that worked out.
So the only WrestleMania that he was at was WrestleMania 8, and he and Savage were the title match, but that was middle of the show because the main event was Sid versus Hogan.
Well, I mean, he wrestled at other WrestleManias, but he was never near the main event.
I should say, the original run. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. I meant when he was there the first time. Yes, later on he did, of course, has retirement match at WrestleMania against Shawn Michaels, etc. I was thinking the original run where he would have main event.
How crazy would it have been if we would have had to put on aging Ric Flair as a WrestleMania main eventer? Like, had they made the Shawn Michaels retirement match last or something like that? But yeah, it's interesting how this works out. And I have a feeling, at least on my end, I'm going to have a lot of commentary on what
Sure.
Leonard puts his choices in, because this is really going to show us. I can tell you right now who's going to be last or among the last, but I think it'll be interesting to see who we pick above others, because these are all main event guys. Some of them are just lucky to be there, obviously. But anyway, so I'm getting us started,
Yes.
and I'm going to be a cliche.
Mhm.
So I am going to pick Hulk Hogan.
Oh, I am surprised. That is not who I had you pegged for. But I mean, like at least half these guys are clear number one picks without question. Um, I'm going to go with Mr. WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels.
Ooh, interesting. All right. Well, so far it's exactly the way I want it to be, and
Okay.
I'm going to go with the guy that beat him 2 WrestleManias in a row, The
Mhm.
Undertaker.
Okay. Undertaker would have been my next pick. I would have had the showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania, and the streak. So I do not. And because I'm trying to talk and write at the same time, I can't spell Undertaker. I need to learn how to multitask. This one may be a surprise to you, but I think this guy's a very, very underrated WrestleMania performer. I'm going to go Randy Savage.
I like that. I'm sad that I will not be able to assemble the Mega Powers, but I
That
am
would have been a heck of a tag team.
I am going to go with Steve Austin.
Okay. And I am going to go with again maybe another guy that some people might think is a little high, but I'm going to go Bret Hart.
Ooh, see, now we're starting to get into picks that I think we both want. That what is absolutely going to be my next pick.
Mhm.
But the beauty of this list is that you can pivot or audible, as they say, very quickly. So I am going to go with The Rock.
Okay, Rock was on my list, of course, towards the top. I am going to go with you know what? I'm going to stick to my order here. I'm going to go Brock Lesnar.
Oh, I'm jealous of that one for sure. Um, See, now it's starting to get a little bit tougher. People out there that are modern fans are probably yelling at us, but
Yes.
um,
As so far, Brock is the most modern guy that has been taken.
yes, that's true. So this is where it really gets tough for me, because do I go with the guys that are really good in the ring and could put on a good match, or do I go with the guys that have proven to be really great at WrestleMania?
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go with a controversial pick maybe this early, and that's John Cena.
Oh, I would say that's a controversial pick early. Cena was on page. He was on my page one. So I'm gonna go up again. I'm gonna keep to my order. I'm not gonna get fancy. I'm gonna go with Kurt Angle.
Oh yeah, see, you're going for all the technical wrestlers here.
It seems yes, that seems to be what I look like so far.
All right. See, now it's really starting to get tougher. I am not going to choose Lawrence Taylor yet, Leonard, no matter how much you
Okay,
want to. But I think I am going to go with Triple H.
okay. See, you're well again. Our sensibilities. You're going maybe a little more modern than me. I'm gonna keep with what I would say is chalk because it's the order I have them in. Another technical guy. I'll go with Chris Jericho.
This is going to be an interesting card. You're going to have trouble arguing some of these when we pit guys like this against some of the people that I have. That's what makes this fun. And,
Yeah.
you know, man, see, there's somebody I really want to go with, but I just don't know if it makes sense at this juncture. I'm going to get this guy out of the way now because I'd rather have him than not. Roman Reigns.
Oh, okay. Was Roman even on my page one? He was not on my page one. And maybe that's just recency bias for
Well, that's the
me.
thing, because do I like Roman Reigns in the ring? I really don't. I think he's overrated in the ring, if I'm being honest. But
Mm-hmm.
in terms of his WrestleMania record, it's really hard to argue.
Yes, yeah, you're definitely going for star power. I'm going Roddy Piper.
Thought about him earlier. Roddy Piper has such a interesting WrestleMania history when you really look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wrestling 1 minute, not the next, but he's, was there a lot of times, which is why we always use him in our rebooks.
Yeah, because he was in and out so much.
Right. Um, man. See, I'm just gonna do it. Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, I think we're locked in now to what we're doing. So, with that is the case, I think Daniel Bryan makes sense for me.
This is the most opposite draft that we've ever done, really. Like
Yeah,
usually we're fighting for people at this point, but
yes, and now we're totally going in opposite directions of each other.
and that's okay. So my next pick is, see, I can't go with him because I know what argument you're gonna use if I go with this person. I know it because this is whenever we view. Never mind. We'll get to it when we get to it.
And I know who I know exactly the argument and who you mean. I know exactly.
Um, you know what? I'm gonna go with Edge.
Okay, Edge is good. AJ Styles.
One of my favorites. Just a guy that really never seems to show his age, which
Mm-hmm.
is the biggest compliment I think that I can give him.
Sure.
Uh, so my next pick is going to be Yokozuna.
Jeez. Every big literally. You know what? Just because I should have at least one kind of hoss on the table, I'm going to take Batista.
See, that was my debate last pick. It was Batista and Yokozuna.
Yeah.
I don't think this person's been picked. Randy Orton.
No, Randy Orton is available. And I did deviate when I took. I'm going to take Mick Foley.
Yeah, that was one that was kind of staring at me for a while there as well.
Yeah, and Batista and Foley were both deviations from my list.
So now it's starting to get a little bit tougher, but
Yeah,
this is where these episodes always require a lot of editing.
yeah,
When a
yeah.
list is this long, we have to really look at it. I'm gonna go with Kevin Owens.
Okay. And I am. No, I add a little more, some more, another big guy. You know what? I will. I'll take Sid.
It's a fair pick for sure. I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
pick my female yet, but
Okay.
you had mentioned earlier about some of the like whether or not if you pick more than one, they would have to face a guy, and some of the couple of these women, I
Good.
I'd be confident putting them up against a guy. Maybe not
Yeah.
somebody.
Or there
Yeah,
is the second spot, so someone could be a valet.
that's true. That's true. Um, let's see. Geez, who do we have left here? I'm gonna go with Ted DiBiase.
Ted DiBiase was next on my list. So I will go back to Chalk and the guy I had under Ted. I'm going to go with Drew McIntyre.
Drew McIntyre. I forgot about him. We are both avoiding the same people, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
go with Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn. Okay. I'm going with. I'm gonna go with again. I want a couple more hosses. I'm gonna go Big Show.
Big Show. All right. I'm going to change it up here. I'm going to go with my female.
Okay.
I'm going with Ronda Rousey.
Ooh, that was not the lady I would have guessed you would have went with, but to each their own. And I'm going to go with the person that I think that you thought I would argue against. I'm going to go Andre the Giant.
That is correct. That absolutely is correct. Did anybody pick Cody Rhodes?
No, Cody is still on the table.
All right, I'll pick Cody Rhodes.
Okay.
For those looking forward to our stupid questions, by the way, one of my stupid questions involves Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes should be in any stupid question.
Okay.
No, I shouldn't say that. You know what? I'll just because I'm, there's not a whole lot of guys I'm interested in still. I will go ahead and take Charlotte Flair as my lady.
All right. So, looking at who we have left, I don't think this person's been picked, so I'm going to go with Bam Bam Bigelow.
Bam Bam is available, yes. And see, I know that you aren't going to take him, but he's technically on the list. And I'll just have to fight for him when I get there. I'll take Chris Benoit.
Thank you. I was
waiting for you to do
it.
Him, but I'll go ahead and take Benoit.
I was gonna say if it gets down to the bottom, and he's there, it's like, why do we even put him on? But we don't have to make that argument. He is on the card. So, all right, I am gonna go with Paul Orndorff.
Okay. I've been staring at Orndorff. He's a guy I had on my first page is done. It's really tough. I'm going to go King Kong Bundy.
All right. I am going to go with Jey Uso.
Okay. And I could take the other one, but I'm not going to do that. I will go ahead and take the Miz.
Thank you again.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Jimmy Uso.
Okay. Let you do that. And so we're down to, I think 3. Yes, because I would have the next pick, and then we would have one more each. So I could take another lady. I could use her as a valet. I don't know who I would stick someone with. I'll take Slaughter.
Okay, I thought you were going to take a lady.
I changed my mind. I don't know who I would. I would use someone as a valet, but I don't know who I would put one of the other women existing with.
And who was the first lady you went with? The only...
I took Charlotte Flair.
Charlotte Flair. All right, so I'm going to pick Becky Lynch.
Okay. I was looking at Becky, but I was like, I don't know who would I put her with. So you have taken 2 women. So you're done. You're done.
All right.
So I've got one more pick left. There are 4 names I could take. I have Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks, Mr. T, and Lawrence Taylor. I'm taking Mr. T.
Oh. All right. Technically, 2-time WrestleMania winner, right?
Yeah.
He won the.
All right, so here's the rosters. Chad as Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, Steve Austin, The Rock, John Cena, Triple H, Roman Reigns, The Ultimate Warrior, Edge, Yokozuna, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, Ted DiBiase, Ronda Rousey, Cody Rhodes, Bam Bam Bigelow, Paul Orndorff, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Becky Lynch. I have Shawn Michaels, Randy Savage, Bret Hart, Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Roddy Piper, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Batista, Mick Foley, Sid, Drew McIntyre, Big Show, Andre the Giant, Charlotte Flair, Chris Benoit, King Kong Bundy, The Miz, Sergeant Slaughter, and Mr. T. So, since we have so many people, we're making this a 2-night WrestleMania.
All right.
So, WrestleMania, Ultimate WrestleMania Night 1 card. So, we're going to have a 1-versus-1 match for the WWE US title, a 6-man tag, a women's match, a WWE Hardcore title match, a fatal 4-way. We'll pick 2 guys each, the WWE Tag Team Titles match, and the WWE World Title match inside of a steel cage, which was, of course, the main event for WrestleMania 2, was a steel cage match. Right. So I get first placement. So who do I want going after the U.S. title here? Do I want to start with one of my big guns, or do I want to start with someone a little lower down? You know what? I'm gonna go with a guy who I think is good for the U.S. title, a guy who I think would put on a nice opener. I'm going to go Chris Jericho.
All right. And I am going to give Chris Jericho the current undisputed champion, Cody Rhodes.
Okay. Good matchup here.
Absolutely.
Cody and Jericho, I'm sure, has happened. I just don't remember specifically.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it did happen in AEW. I'm sure it did, but yeah, I can't recall it off the top of my head.
Good matchup on paper. Both, I mean, you're getting Cody Rhodes now. I'm getting, of course, a younger Jericho, not AEW current Jericho. So very much Jericho in his prime. This would be a barn burner of an opener. We always say we love to have a strong, fast-paced opener when we do shows like the rebooks. This is honestly, I think a coin flip. Of course, I've got to go with my guy Jericho because I think Jericho, even though Cody has had a nice career, Jericho has had a very long career. He's completely reinvented himself. When he's on, he's totally on. I think at his peak, he was maybe a little faster than Cody, a little more agile than Cody, a very, very move set. So those would be my arguments for Jericho winning.
I agree with everything you said at the beginning there. I think this would be a great match, and I do think that this is a coin flip. If we are comparing their WrestleMania records, however, Chris Jericho doesn't necessarily have a very favorable WrestleMania record. He was younger, and I agree he probably was a little bit faster than Cody Rhodes. But if you look at Cody Rhodes, especially now, I think that he's more of a main event guy and more likely the person that you would go with. Because if I see this happening at a WrestleMania, I see this ending the way the Shawn Jericho match ended, with Cody wanting to shake hands maybe after he wins and Jericho giving the low blow. Because Jericho can lose better than anybody else and still look like a star. So that would be my argument there.
Okay, so we don't start off with a tie. I will let you have that because I do like that you're allowing Jericho to, regain some heat at the end. And I think if with recency bias, yes, Cody is completely red hot right now and was probably hotter now than say Jericho was when he main evented. So yeah. I'll let you have that one. So you get next placement, and it's the 6-man tag.
All right. Well, see, I certainly paid attention to who I was going to have as tag teams and such, but I did not really pay attention to 3-man teams. I never do in these, and that often means my my doom when we do this kind of stuff. But I am going to assemble just a cluster of guys here.
Okay.
So we're going to go with Yokozuna.
Okay.
Paul Orndorff. And Ted DiBiase.
Okay, so the $1 Million Corporation.
There you go.
That is an interesting $1 Million Corporation. I am going to go with, as I cross off your name so I don't get lost. And again, I don't know even why I put a 6-man tag on. I think it was just because I was interested to see who would, you know,
It's
get
interesting.
teamed together, who would be weird, like what just happened here. So who would go up against the $1 million corporation? Um, let's see here. I'm going to go with King Kong Bundy, Sid, and you know they got to have that team needs somebody who's like leading them. I'm going Roddy Piper.
Oh my God.
So Piper's pit of Roddy Piper, Sid, and King Kong Bundy versus Yokozuna, Paul Orndorff, and Ted DiBiase. You
You
start
know,
the argument.
I'm not even going to argue this one. You've got the stronger team for sure here. See, I was waiting to see who your other picks were. If it was going to be Bam Bam or not Bam Bam, Yokozuna
You know.
versus King Kong Bundy, I
Mhm.
would say Yokozuna owns him all day. Like a prime Yokozuna would own him
Yes,
all day.
I would give you that.
But when you have Sid against an Orndorff and Piper against DiBiase or whatever combination you have there, yeah, those. I mean, Piper and Sid are definitely the stronger guys. Uh, so I also see I like what you did with the leading factor too. I do
Mhm.
think that would make a difference here. Even though DiBiase might be a clear leader on my end, I don't think they would get along nearly as well. So
Yeah, I think Piper. I hate to say it, Bundy and Sid are dumber,
yeah,
so Piper can control them better, probably.
right.
Yeah, I'll take the win there. I'll certainly take the win there. So next is easy. It's our women's match, and of course, I only have one woman, Charlotte Flair, but you have two, so you can do what you wish.
I'm going with Rousey here for sure.
Okay.
When I talked about one of the women that could face a guy, I definitely meant Rousey, and that's why I went with her. Even though her WrestleMania record might not be as you know historic as some of the other ladies that we had on our list, I definitely think that WWE went out of their way to make her look dominant. And I definitely think on the other end of things, Charlotte Flair, as great as she is, and let's face it, she's probably, the greatest, one of the greatest women's wrestlers ever, right?
Mhm.
Um, her WrestleMania record is up and down. Like she's often the person that goes into WrestleMania as the champ and loses it for whoever is, coming up. So I'm definitely going with Rousey here. She'll break her arm, Leonard. Come on now.
See, you are more focused on the WrestleMania record. I'm kind of focused on the person overall. And as you said, Charlotte Flair is considered to be one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time. And despite what her WrestleMania record might be, the people she's beat, the titles that she's held, the number of times against Rousey, who again, you're getting Rousey during her first run. Her second run was a flop. She was always green. She needs Charlotte Flair as a dance partner to walk her through the match. Definitely. Um, I know you said that Rousey was always booked dominant, but again, when you look at the overall big picture, Flair is someone they always go to. Flair is someone they always consider to be the queen of the women's division. I think a seasoned, veteran, focused Charlotte Flair, who's always continually pushed, beats a greener Rousey.
Who are we gonna go with here, Leonard? Who do we think? Should I use Becky Lynch here?
Oh, you mean as the valet for Ronda?
Yeah, or like a run in?
It's a run in. I mean I wouldn't want you to blow your run in already or your manager or what have you, but that would certainly sway me.
You know what? I'm just gonna do it because Becky
Okay.
and Charlotte don't like each other. I'm saying we get an interference.
All right. And then I would agree, yeah, with Becky Lynch interference, that makes total sense to me. I kind of feel like I cheated and got you to use your second already, but I mean, yeah, that's what worked for me. So there you go. Hardcore titles next. Who do you got?
See, this is tough. This is tough. And the Fatal 4-Way coming up is also not going to be an easy one to choose.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing for that.
So you know what?
Mhm.
You got the Undertaker.
The Undertaker?
That's right.
Oh, God dang it. Because you know who I have.
No, I don't. Well, I mean, I know who you
Well,
have,
who do I have that's the king of friggin' hardcore?
but
I've
how
got
great would it be if you put them against each other at WrestleMania in a hardcore match? That would be so fitting. I mean, you wouldn't have an argument, but it would be a great match.
no, I know. Because I don't know. The only other person I got would be Brock Lesnar because Lesnar ended the streak. So that would be, and again, if you're going to have a return, say if this is a return match, giving a stipulation like a hardcore match would make sense for a return to those guys. Since Brock gives me more of an argument, I'm going to give him Brock Lesnar.
Wow. A hardcore title match between The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar.
This feels very early aughts.
Yeah, it does. Well, we've seen these guys have every match under the sun, right? They had a biker chain match. They
Yeah.
had a Hell in the Cell, and probably others that I'm not thinking of, and of course the big one at WrestleMania where Brock beat the Undertaker. But one of the constants in those matches has pretty much always been Brock winning. So,
Yeah.
it's tough for me to argue this other than what Undertaker are we thinking about here? Because if we're thinking about WrestleMania main event Undertaker, we would think
Well,
about 13,
per the rules, this would be WrestleMania 13 Undertaker. He never main evented until 13 against Sid.
which means we're getting the Undertaker that won the world title.
Yes.
So I will, you know what? I'm going to throw the ball in your court. You, Leonard, as somebody who likes wrestling, if you think that Brock Lesnar could beat a peak title winning Undertaker, then I will say we'll go with that.
Okay. I mean, we know that Brock ended the streak at WrestleMania. We know that Brock. I don't have his entire WrestleMania record in front of me. He has a very good pay-per-view record. He's beaten a lot of the top guys. As you said, he's beaten The Undertaker various types of matches, various ways. Yeah, it was a bit of an older Undertaker, but it wasn't decrepit, barely moving Undertaker that we got the last few years. It was a guy that could still go. Brock is as the beast incarnate. He's a physical monster, and the fact that this is a hardcore match, so you've got him, being able to use tables and chairs and ladders and weapons. And I'll tell you the finish. Brock's going to do the 450 through a table.
The F5, you mean?
No, he does a moonsault.
A shooting star.
Whatever he does. The top rope move that Brock does.
So your argument is that Brock Lesnar wins on the move that almost killed him in the ring.
Yes. Because he wants it that bad.
He wants it that bad. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna give it to Brock. Because honestly, the hardcore element is a better argument. Like I almost went back to the argument board when you mentioned the shooting star ending it. Like I seriously did. I thought about it. I was like, we could make this like a 5-minute long debate. But the hardcore element makes sense to me because, the Undertaker's been in some hardcore matches certainly, but I do think that Brock Lesnar in a hardcore, like he might get a bulldozer and tilt the ring up, on its end like he did against.
Right, we've seen him do that.
So yeah, we'll have Brock win this one for sure.
Fantastic. I'm fighting for every point.
Our next match.
All right. Okay, so before we get to the Fatal 4-Way, I noticed something. I'm not sure how this happened. Maybe because you took an extra woman, but you only have 20 picks, and I have 21. So I think you need to take someone else. Left is Lawrence Taylor, Bianca Belair, and Sasha Banks.
Guess I'm picking Lawrence Taylor.
Okay. So I'm not sure what's gonna. So yeah, I don't know how that happened. Hopefully everything will still come out even. If not, we'll figure it out. Maybe Lawrence Taylor will wind up in the main event of night 2. Who knows?
You never know.
But next we're going to do a fatal 4-way, and so I'm going to go ahead and take my first 2. Then you'll take your 2, and I'm going to go with 2 of my strongest technical guys here. I'm going to go Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles.
All right, and I am going to go with 2 of my strongest technical guys, Lawrence Taylor and the Ultimate Warrior.
Lawrence Taylor. So Lawrence Taylor and the Ultimate Warrior versus Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles. Okay, pitch me.
Ultimate Warrior wins this all day. All day, Leonard. And you know what? If we're talking, you know what? And I think you said Daniel Bryan, right?
Yes.
Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles. I think they would be happy to lead the Warrior to one of his best matches, not caring whether or not they win. I think that Lawrence Taylor is just lucky to be there, but I see the Ultimate Warrior winning this quickly.
So this match is basically Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles proving how good they are by carrying 2 lumps of coal to a good match.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I think that I think it's possible. You know what? And I can see the Warrior even using Lawrence Taylor to his advantage. Like, you know, have him, you know, be outside the ring with AJ Styles while he just, you know, unleashes fury on Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, and I always like to factor in the political aspect. And yeah, the Warrior's not jobbing. So
that's true.
So yeah, I mean, I'll give it to you. I would love to see that match because that is either going to be the most surprising match in WrestleMania history or the greatest train wreck in WrestleMania history. And either one watch.
Probably a little bit of both. You know, honestly, if it was the Warrior against Styles 1-on-1, I think that match would look pretty similar to WrestleMania 7 against Savage. I truly do. However, if it was the Warrior versus Daniel Bryan, that would be a tough task for Mr. Daniels to achieve there. But anywho, all right.
Warrior wins. Okay, so tag team titles on the line. You go first.
All right. I'm going to use one of my tag teams here.
Okay.
And one of the best tag teams in WWE history, probably. And it is going to be the Usos.
Okay, the Usos are going to get Andre the Giant and Big Show.
What the hell? That's just unfair.
Father and son teamed together for the first time ever. And again, the argument I would make is this is 1987 broken down Andre, but he's in a tag match protected with the Big Show who can work the bulk of the match, and they easily one of these dudes outweighs the Usos together.
That's true. And you know, here's what I see happening, Leonard. I see the Usos super kicking Andre into the ropes. Andre loves to get tied up in the ropes.
Yeah, that's a great spot. He does it all the time.
And then that leaves 2 against 1, 2 Usos against the Big Show. And I think during this match, Big Show turns heel and face at least 3 or 4 times.
But he turns face back at the end to save his father and wins with a double choke slam on the Usos.
Do you really see? Come on, this is a built-in tag team. Father and son, they argue. Okay, father and son doesn't get along. You know, Andre here. You know what? Here's my best argument, and for real, this is the best argument. Andre hates other big guys. Even if
God damn, I forgot that he does hate other big guys. And he would have hated that the Big Show is his son. He would have hated that angle.
He would have
So
sat
you know
on
what?
Big
I
Show's head.
think Andre turns on Big Show.
I would love to see that.
Andre turns on Big Show. You know what? I thought I had that one in the bag, but you convinced me. You,
We can totally
you
see Andre turning on the Big Show.
yes. Andre is going to turn on Big Show because he doesn't have anything to do with him, and that's what's going to happen. So you win another one there. World title inside of a steel cage. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bust out Mick Foley for this.
Ooh, that's interesting. For the world title. See,
he's a former world champion.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to give an interesting pick here because I don't think these guys ever had a match together.
Okay.
I think that this would be a weird combination. And I'm actually, honestly, I want to see your argument here. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a world title match in a steel cage between Mick Foley and John Cena.
Oh, you know what? I thought you were going to go Hogan.
Not for this.
John Cena versus Mick Foley. I don't know if they ever did. Foley was pretty much done by the time Cena got there. So yeah. He was still floating around and had a couple.
Yeah.
Anywho's, it's inside of a steel cage. That would be my strongest argument for Foley. You know, Foley, if it's a hardcore element of any
or
sort,
against him.
He is good in steel cage matches. You know, he beat Triple H in a steel cage. He would do something off the top of the steel cage. He would do the Superfly splash off the cage.
Yeah.
Super Cena could always win. But I think Cena's a guy that would, when it comes to Mick Foley, might put Foley over. I think he would not be against putting Mick Foley over. If this was straight up, I would probably lean more towards Cena, but the cage element, I think, gives Foley a plausible way to beat Cena without Cena losing any momentum. Cena is definitely a guy that you can beat because of how strong he is. And he doesn't really lose anything. You know, Foley, kind of by luck and sheer will got to the main event. So this is such an interesting match, but I go Foley because of the cage.
Yeah, and side tangent. At one point over the past month, Mick Foley had, and I don't know if we talked about this on the air or not. Mick Foley had announced that he was going to be losing weight and training for a match on his 60th birthday, and he was going to lose a lot of weight, and he was going to train for one last death match was the initial idea from his words. And then I guess while he was training, he got a concussion just by training.
Wow.
And so he called it off immediately, which is probably for the better. But that's just some like newer news. Mm-hmm. But I actually think that this would be an interesting match to see. And before I talk about the winner, I think that Mick Foley is honestly a perfect type of opponent for Cena because I think that Mick Foley was good at making everybody else look strong, and I absolutely think he would make John Cena look strong in an environment like this. And so it's for that reason. And Super Cena, I was never a fan of. I picked him simply because of his status at WrestleMania, really. But you know what? I'm going to go with Foley winning this because and you didn't even use this argument, but I will. One of Mick Foley's more prominent cage matches was a match he won against Triple H. I want to say SummerSlam.
I did mention that. He beat Triple H. Yeah. He did that was the thing. He beat Triple. I think it was SummerSlam because he did the splash off the top rope. And he opened his shirt because it was supposed to have the Dude Love heart, but it had sweated off and you couldn't see anything.
Yeah, and like you kind of thought he was going to lose because he was, turning back to do the splash. But yeah, so we'll go with Mick Foley pulling an upset here just to see Mick Foley win in the main event of WrestleMania, even if it's on our card.
Yeah. So coming out of night one, Chad is up 4-3, which is closer than I thought it was going to be.
All right. So we're going into night 2, Leonard.
Night two, here's the card. Singles match for the WWE European title, another 6-man tag. An Intercontinental title ladder match, a tag team match, a singles match, and then for the Universal title, a 60-minute Iron Man match, was of course the main event of WrestleMania 12. So I get the first seed again because we're restarting second night. So European title, I'm going Drew McIntyre, who is European.
That is a very good pick. And, you know, I could throw out somebody here that I know for sure would win because you would just have no argument, or I could go for the match that I think would be more interesting to see. And I'm going to go with the match I think would be more interesting to see, which is Drew McIntyre versus Bam Bam Bigelow.
Wow. You know, that would be a cool match. I mean, Bam Bam, this is an 87 Bam Bam. That guy could go, but he, was still fairly sprightly by WrestleMania 11. I think this is a really cool matchup. I really like this. The fact that we had basically a lot of guys that were around the same eras together, the fact that we can find new matchups is great. So Bigelow versus McIntyre, I think, would be a great opener. Bigelow, of course, very agile for his size, strong, of course, for his size. But McIntyre is more muscular. I think he is, technically, I think I would say he is stronger, faster, more agile than Bigelow. Again, he is European, going for the European title. So that would be my argument there, is I think that McIntyre is a little bit better of an all-arounder than Bigelow, even though that Bigelow, I believe, in this day and age, is probably very underrated as a big man.
Yeah, I agree. Bigelow is underrated, and more of his stuff should be revisited. But I also agree that Drew McIntyre is probably overall the better one here. Bigelow's main event was, somewhat odd when you really look back at it now.
Yeah. It was them going for it was a downtime in the business, and it was them going for the novelty factor of the celebrity.
Absolutely. And so I do think Drew McIntyre would win here, but I do think that the styles that these two guys present would mesh better than maybe some would give it credit for. So we'll go with Drew McIntyre winning this one.
Okay, so 6-man tag, you place first.
All right. So the 6-man tag, we're going to go with Kevin Owens.
Okay.
Sami Zayn and Edge.
Okay, I like that team. And let's see here. You are getting Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. Oh, you know what? I forgot to write down Sami Zayn. So that's why your numbers were off. We might be uneven at some point. That's okay.
Okay, that's all right.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I kept looking at the list, and I was like, how did we get uneven? I forgot to write down Sami Zayn's name when you took him. All right. So you're getting The Miz, Sergeant Slaughter, and Benoit.
I thought I was going to use Owens and Zayn as a tag team. But the more this has gone along, the more I didn't want to do that. And Edge, I think, fits with pretty much anybody. But I definitely see my 3 guys meshing more than the absolute cluster that is your 3 guys.
Yes. Well, I know, Benoit, I don't want to overlook him, but because of everything around, we don't usually give him a lot of credit or want to talk a lot about him. This is an older Slaughter, from WrestleMania 7. Miz was lucky to be there one time. These are guys that I'm not going to be able to use anywhere else. So I might as well clump them together and eat the loss.
And yeah, based on the Miz alone,
Yeah,
I think that the team suffers. But
yeah. But that would be a heck of a team to see walking down the aisle.
I don't even. It's tough to even picture that in my head.
Yeah.
Like, how do those three guys align together? That's like we just need to give these guys a paycheck.
Yeah. This paycheck match, and those guys would be so upset to be together.
Yeah.
So
Oh my.
well,
All right.
all right. So we have the Intercontinental title ladder match. I get to place first. IC title WrestleMania. A guy I would love to see in a ladder match. You're getting Randy Savage.
Ooh, see, that's a good one. All right. And I already used Cody Rhodes, did I not?
Yes, Cody opened night 1 against Jericho.
I forgot to cross that off. All right. So Macho Man, Randy Savage, Intercontinental title match. Oh man, see, this is tough, but maybe not. I'm gonna give him because honestly, here again, I might suffer in the end for going with matches that I think would be interesting. I'm gonna give him Randy Orton.
Okay.
And
so Randy versus Randy.
That's I didn't think about that, honest to God. But what a great tagline, Battle of the Randys. Yeah, I think this would be a good match. Randy Orton can again work with anybody. Savage can work with anybody, and you have a ladder match, which I don't know that it really suits either guy more. I mean, Randy Savage is smaller, but I think that it suits both of them to a good degree. The real question you have is who do we value more as a main eventer? So, Leonard, I think this is closer than we think, but give me your thoughts.
Okay. I love this matchup, and again, I like the fact that you're, thinking in the way, hey, what would be a cool match other than just someone that would, just trounce Savage. I like that. I don't know if Savage ever did a ladder match. He totally could have in his prime. That's one reason. Well, after I put the card together and I went, because I did an IC title ladder match because of course that happened in WrestleMania 10. I went, oh, Savage would be so cool to put here. Savage in his prime. And one thing, and you've been talking about who puts together great WrestleMania matches. Savage does. He won WrestleMania 4, great match against Hogan at 5. Stellar match against Ultimate Warrior at 7. Of course, him against Steamboat at 3 is considered one of the best of all time. Even we did a rebook of WrestleMania 10, and we said, outside of Brett and Owen and Michaels and Razor, that was kind of a lackluster show. But at least the Falls Count Anywhere match between Crush and Savage was interesting, Right. So I think because Savage has such a good track record of making really great matches at WrestleMania, and he didn't always win them. I mean, go back and look at him and Flair at 8 again. That's one he won. I would argue Savage. I think as good as Randy Orton is, as great as career as he had, I would say that Savage is just that echelon above. If Orton's a 10, Savage is an 11. And I think I think a ladder match would allow Savage to really showcase his wares in a certain way. We all know that Randy liked to plan his matches out meticulously. To see what he would come up with for a ladder match with time to plan would be amazing.
So I'm going to give you a couple arguments here.
Okay.
You still think that Savage would win because I agree with you that he's an upper echelon in terms of legacy. But I'm going to give you a couple arguments here, and if you still think that Savage will be the winner after I say these things, we'll go with Savage. And that is, there's two parts to this.
All right.
And you don't have to respond to the first one right away. How clearly in your head do you see Savage going for an elbow and eating a diamond or eating an RKO? How clearly?
It'd be funnier if
that in your head.
In.
So
off the ladder. He's coming off the ladder with the elbow drop and eats the RKO. But that doesn't necessarily lead to the finish. I mean,
No,
that's
it
not
doesn't
a
have to.
pin.
The other part of that argument is that goes along with that is when he had the rivalry, he being Savage with DDP, Savage decided, I'm going to take the diamond cutter tonight. That was his famous words back in the locker room. I'm going to take the diamond cutter tonight. And he did, and he gave DDP the win based on that. Diamond cutter, RKO. Can you see
You're comparing
RKO?
moves, but not the person. Do you honestly think that Randy Savage would be willing to put over Randy Orton?
No, you're right.
All right, taking the win.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Okay. So as we're getting closer down here, I did see, because I forgot to write down Sami Zayn, we are off. So I'm going to recap who we all have left. You have Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, and Roman Reigns. I have Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Kurt Angle, Batista, and Mr. T.
Okay, so here's what we can do.
Yeah.
So we can either have me cut a person, or I can say to you, you can take one more person that might not have been in a WrestleMania main event, but maybe was in a main event in terms of they were in the title match.
Well, give me Flair.
I knew you were going to do I knew right away when I said it, you're like, you're going to go with Flair.
Okay, so that means we're adding another singles match.
Or well, I was going to say, or we could make it another tag match, but we can add a singles match too. That's fine.
Yeah, or we could make another 4-way.
No, let's not do that.
Okay,
I put Lawrence Taylor in my 4-way.
We're gonna add another singles match. So let's do the bonus singles match now before we get to the others, and you get first placement.
All right, I get first placement. Then it's going to be Triple H.
Okay. The only other pick I could have took Diesel. You know what? Since you were, do I want to give him Flair? You know what? Triple H would love to wrestle Ric Flair at WrestleMania. He's getting Ric Flair.
Well, yeah, these guys had a really great match. I think it was a Raw. It was one of those Raw where they had a tribute to Flair right afterwards. Flair, I guess, was his manager at the time, and Flair got a title shot, and it was actually a really good, really competitive match. There's no way a peak Flair, and if we're going with WrestleMania 7 Flair, even though he lost, that was peak Flair, or maybe not peak, but pretty damn close. Is going to lose to Triple H, but then again, swerve, bro.
Okay.
This is somebody who is always very political. So, would Triple H lose to Ric Flair? Probably yes.
Yes, because it's Ric Flair.
Because it is.
He worships Flair. Again, this is WrestleMania 8 Flair, so very much in his prime Flair.
Yeah, I said 7. 8 is correct.
Yes, it was 8 against Savage, where he was in the technical double main event. So, I mean, he makes the most sense for me to take here. Yeah, I mean, this is a Flair. If Triple H is going to job to anybody at WrestleMania, it's Ric Flair. So,
yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
All right.
So, as I look forward, I think I booked myself into a corner. So, you'll see as we go. So, tag team match, I get first placement.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to do do I want to do something dumb or something not so dumb? You know what? I'm going to do something not so dumb. I'm going to take Shawn Michaels and Batista, with Batista like in a bodyguard role. So Batista would be like a Diesel or a Sid for Shawn in this.
and I got just the match for you. And this would
Okay.
be a great match, but I also have the easiest argument. You're getting The Rock
Okay.
and Roman Reigns.
Nice. You know, and I'll say this now. I almost did Michaels and Brett.
Oh my god, that would have been great to see. Honestly, this
Yeah,
would
as a
be great too because I think Roman Reigns and Batista would have a lot of chemistry in terms of peak. Maybe, and I'm trying to think if they ever got together. They might have gotten together, or maybe not. I can't really
yeah.
remember.
At some point, I'd have to go back and look.
They definitely had interactions at a Royal Rumble
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But anyway, um, yes, The Rock and Roman Reigns just won the main event at WrestleMania Night 1 at 40. Um, they are not only have they been a tag team, but obviously they're related. So there's the family factor there. Shawn and Batista haven't teamed together. Shawn Michaels is Mr. WrestleMania. I think this would be a really good match, but I think that the Samoans have this in the bag.
Definitely so. I can see this being something where Michaels would berate Batista, get on Batista. Maybe Batista walks out on him, so you get the Batista turn. Because again, Diesel and Sid turned on Shawn, so
Right.
you get a Batista turn, possibly. Rock and Roman, as you noted, worked great together at the recent WrestleMania. At such a hot team. Um, I think this is a great match. I do like it, and yeah, I can't argue with you that this would be Rock and Roman winning here. So
All right.
the bloodline wins on. So we have a singles match, and you get first placement this time, and you have two names left.
Here we go, Leonard. Here we go.
Okay.
Am I dumb enough to go with certain person knowing what the last match is? I'm not that dumb.
Yeah.
You're getting Hulk Hogan.
Okay. Okay. Uh, so Hogan is getting Kurt Angle with Mr. T.
So
Why?
it's
Because
interesting.
I find that hilarious.
It's interesting that you go with Mr. T against Hogan, since Mr. T was pretty much only in the main event because of Hogan. Well, not totally, but you know, um,
Here's the storyline: Kurt Angle is going to face Hulk Hogan. So who would he go get to have his back? The guy who Hulk Hogan thought was his friend and who Hogan took to the main event of the first WrestleMania, but Mr. T.
so this
It's
was
mind games.
I like that idea. This was a match during Hogan's comeback in the early aughts,
Yeah.
and I actually think it was a decent match for what it was. Hogan was older and couldn't do as much. Kurt Angle won that match actually, and that was when Kurt Angle wore the wig and the amateur wrestling headgear. And
Yes.
I remember being like really irate because the ending went really fast and I liked both guys, but like it really looked like Hogan had the ropes and the referee like wouldn't break the hold. But like if you look back, Kurt's just kind of dragging Hogan around. Anyway, so but this is a peak Hogan. So there's no way Hogan is losing to Kurt Angle in his prime. There's just no way.
True. Again, I go with politicking, and I think Mr. T backfires. I don't think he turns on
That's
Angle,
I was gonna
but
say that actually.
I think he would somehow try to interfere and it would not go correctly. So yeah, so I would agree with you that Hogan would win um this match. I think it would be a fun match. I think it would be a combination of a typical Hogan match and Angle getting some more out of him. I think there would be some comedy elements, but it's a cool matchup. So
Go back for any of people. I forget what event it was, but go back and check that match out that they actually had.
okay, so main event, and we know what it's going to be a 60-man Iron Man match. You have Steve Austin, and I have Bret Hart.
So you talk about working yourself into a corner. I at this whole time had
Yeah.
forgotten who you had left. Um,
Mhm.
the fact that we're main eventing night 2 with these two guys is fascinating, but very appropriate, I might say, because
Yes.
the match that they did have has gone down as one of the best WrestleMania matches ever, and
Hmm.
rightfully so. And the arguments here are pretty obvious. I mean, Steve Austin is, you know, he and Hogan are on that Mount Rushmore of wrestling, right? But this is an Iron Man match, and Bret Hart was in more Iron Man matches in WWE than was anybody else, as far as I know. If you count the house show matches that he
Right.
did. Um, and Steve Austin, famously at most of the WrestleManias, like was not fully 100%. So,
Hmm.
if Leonard wasn't going to make that argument, I was certainly going to throw it out there. And the match that they did have at WrestleMania when they were both pretty healthy, Brett won.
Yes.
So, this argument kind of writes itself. It's not even an argument. So
Yeah.
I definitely see Brett winning this. I mean, you can add whatever thoughts you want, Leonard, but I think that this
Sure.
would be amazing. Um,
Yeah.
Even more amazing
Well,
than
if I would have went with Michaels and Hart for my tag match, this would have been Steve Austin versus Batista in an Iron Man match. So that was when I said I could do something stupid, and I did not. So I mean, yeah, all the arguments that you made, I would have made as well. I think the argument for Austin is at the end of the day, I think you could say that he was a bigger star than Hart, but it was the time period where they were on top.
right.
We know these guys work great together. This is, of course, Austin before he had his neck injury. So you got that go. Actually, no. Yes, it would have been, or would have been after the neck. And no, it was after the neck injury because he main evented the first time. Was it 14 against Michaels?
Yes,
Yes.
he was. I think.
So
I mean, he had been injured by that point, but he was healthy for that. It was Michaels who was injured, but
yeah, yeah.
um,
Okay.
I mean, Steve Austin was healthy at that point, but he had already gone through multiple neck issues.
Yeah. Okay. So, given all that and the fact that it's an Iron Man match, like if this was the steel cage match from night one, I think maybe you could argue Austin a little bit better. It was more of a brawler than Hart. But the fact that it's an Iron Man match, and Austin could work this match. He definitely could work an Iron Man match. I don't know if he ever
Yeah,
did. 60 minutes, that's a long time to be in the ring. Um, but I think Brett would have got him through it. I think there would have been maybe a slow period in the middle. I definitely think there would be more falls here than in the WrestleMania 12 match. I never liked that went 0-0 into overtime. So I definitely think that I'm not gonna argue against my own dude against you. So I'll take the win with Bret Hart.
and future random match review, because I will look this up afterwards. What was Steve Austin's longest match?
Find it and we'll review it. I would be interested to know that. Yes. So we wound up with 14 matches total because we added Triple H versus Ric Flair. So the final score, 7-7, we tied.
I know that might be uninteresting to the viewers, but I'm happy with that because I think that we both assembled some interesting matches, but also got our shit in, as they say, in terms of
Yes.
having certain guys win. Um, Thinking back when you mentioned night one, I really could have gone with other people on night one, but it just seems so interesting to have John Cena and Mick Foley together. Uh,
Right.
but I
Yeah.
think he assembled a really good WrestleMania card of matches that, you know, could have happened, matches that would never happen, a good
Yeah.
mix.
Let's real quick. I'll review the card. So we have Chris Jericho versus Cody Rhodes. This is night one for the U.S. title. A six-man of Yokozuna, Paul Orndorff, and Ted DiBiase versus King Kong Buddy, Sid, and Roddy Piper. Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey with Becky Lynch. The Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar in a hardcore match. A fatal four-way of Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles versus Lawrence Taylor versus the Ultimate Warrior. Tag team title match, the Usos versus Andre the Giant and Big Show. World title steel cage match, Mick Foley versus John Cena. Night 2 for the European title, Drew McIntyre versus Bam Bam Bigelow. And a six-man, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Edge versus Miz, Slaughter, and Benoit. For the Intercontinental title in a ladder match, Randy Savage versus Randy Orton. A tag team match, Shawn Michaels and Batista versus Rock and Roman Reigns. Triple H versus Ric Flair. Hogan versus Kurt Angle with Mr. T. And Steve Austin versus Bret Hart. And I'm actually glad we added Triple H versus Flair because that made it an even number of matches. So it all worked out great in the end.
Yeah, and certainly at night 2, the Slaughter Miz Benoit 6-man match. That's the pee break match for everybody, right? That's
that's the worst. I think that's the worst match we came up with. That's the worst match we came up with.
Yeah, that tends to happen with our 6-man matches.
At least the first 6-man. I think the DiBiase Piper being like the team leaders, I think you get some interesting spots out of that.
Yeah, I think initially when we started doing 6-mans, we were trying to assemble trios that made sense. And for a while now, when we've done these, we just go with whoever we have left.
Whoever we don't want to use for anything else, and it just makes for a weirdo combination, but it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you go. The Ultimate WrestleMania, all the main eventers, ends in a 7-7 tie.
Absolutely. And let us know if there were matches that we should have made and what your thoughts are overall on our cards. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our content. Check out our other videos, Segment Surgery, Stupid Questions, What's That Card, Random Match Reviews. We are available wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you very much for checking us out. And for Leonard, my name is Chad, and we will see you next time.